there's a concept about the ambidextrous leaders, creative leaders, and ambidexterity in general. Could you explain what that is, and what does it mean to be a creative leader, innovative leader, and an ambidextrous leader?
Yes, definitely. We have a concept in management that is called ambidexterity. So ambidexterity means with both hands, and it comes from the idea that one can do things right using these two behaviors. So one can be at the same time exploratory and exploitative. So one can create novelty, look for new ways to do things, new alternatives, new ice cream flavors. And on the other hand, one can also reap the gains of what one has done and refine the choices that one has made in the past and learn from them. And we can do these two things. And by doing that, we are more likely to get the value of the exploration we do. And as such, it makes us a lot more creative because we have also the forces to invest into creativity. I think a misconception about creativity is that it's like the genius painting and I don't know, the totally hippie style of the creative person that has really extreme ideas and comes up with this novelty. And I think it's overemphasizing the novelty aspect of creativity. Both in the concept of ambidexterity and in the concept of creativity, we have two sides. So also in creativity, we have a side that is, yes, of course, novelty, but we have also a side that is usefulness, how useful a new idea is, how useful a new product is. That makes it creative, that it's novel and that it's useful. And in the case of ambidextrous leaders, these are people that know when to switch to explore and say, hey, no, now we cannot continue doing the same. We need to look for a new market or for a new idea. And at the same time, get the value out of those new ideas, not only go crazy new ideas all the time and never sit down and exploit those ideas. So these are the two sides from exploration exploitation within these two concepts, ambidexterity and creativity.
So it seems to me that a lot of people can maybe think that it's hard to do all of that stuff. So what type of thinking does it involve? What can we do in that respect to engage ourselves?
Yeah, so that is a very good question. And that is at the core of what our research group has been doing in the past 14 years. We have covered a variety of methods to try to understand how leaders actually deal with this dilemma, how leaders manage ambidexterity. And to do so, we have investigated cases in companies. We have done retrospective data analysis of what has happened to companies, how were the leaders. We have interviewed many of them. We have also done surveys, and more interestingly, for the purposes of today, we have done studies to capture their brain processes, their cognitive functioning. For that, we use something called fMRI. fMRI stands for functional magnetic resonance imaging. It is a method that allows us to proxy what is going on in the head of these people as they make decisions and as they solve problems. What we have observed in these different methods is that there is one fundamental ability that seems to help people to be more ambidextrous, and that ability is called cognitive flexibility. Now, cognitive flexibility is something that we all have, so that is good news. We all have, well, unless one is like extremely unlucky, one doesn't have cognitive flexibility, but one would know that already. But generally, all humans have this ability. We are born with a little bit of that, and we develop it as we grow. When we reach maturity around 21, 23 years old, it gets at its peak, and then it starts to slowly decline. There are ways to stop it declining too fast, but we can talk about that another time. Now, what is super important about this ability is that it can be trained. And one of the core ways to train it, and this is very nascent research in other groups and also in our group, but one of the core ways to train it is actually by activating something called metacognition. Some of you might be familiar with that term. Metacognition refers to the ability to oversee, to sort of be aware of what are our own cognitive processes. What am I thinking about? How am I thinking in this moment? It sounds more complicated than it is, but let's say in practice, let's go back to our initial ice cream example. I enter the ice cream place and I realize that I am on automatic mode, that I enter and I look at the thing, and instead of actually looking at what flavors are there, I go immediately and I know that I like strawberry, so I go for strawberry. Metacognition would be to have like an imaginary supervisor here in our heads that enters with us the shop and says like, you are in automatic mode. You are about to choose what you've always done before. Is that still okay? Or should you switch to explore something good? And then you have this internal dialogue without going crazy. You don't have to vocalize that when you're in the ice cream place, but you have like a quick internal check where you say like, should I stay or should I go? Should I stick to what I've done in the past, or should I choose something new? That is a simple activity that is happening. In many cases, it's happening without us noticing, but in many cases, we just go the automatic way without noticing, right? And again, in the ice cream example, it doesn't really matter, but with many other choices, it might matter, right? Let's say that let's say I have a certain health problem. I shouldn't be consuming so much salt. My blood pressure goes to the stars, and I automatically open my shelf and I take a big, large package of chips. They are super gratifying, but they are going to cause me a problem. And I do this automatically, day after day. Metacognition would be, okay, is this serving me, or should I change for something else? Another level would be, should I stick to this, or should I have in the same place something a little bit healthier next time? Activating this metacognition is a way to train our cognitive flexibility, because it allows us to be more observant of our own thinking and decide if that's the right type of thinking or not.